This guy really tough. If you want to stop him, you have to choke him or knock him out. This guy is gonna fight 5 rounds.
He is confident. He's backing his skills. He needs to. But I believe that I'm going to be, teaching him a lesson. Can't wait to do it, and looking forward to going out there and really putting on a show. Look, man, there's nothing wrong with being confident, honestly, as long as you're preparing properly. You know, if you're doing the work, sometimes being delusional and cocky it's okay, as long as you're putting the work in. Can help sometimes, but we'll see. Is he doing the work, or does he really think he's that good? Look, I just don't think he's as good as he says he is. But we'll see how good he is.
had surgery after his
una
last
derrota,
fight.
habló de que está pasando por una depresión. Por lo que se ve no está al 100%, yo me encuentro al 100%, la energía me acompaña, la gente me acompaña, las ganas me acompañan y el 17 de febrero saldré campeón del mundo sin lugar a duda.
He's coming off a loss, and
I want to ask you this.
I'm ready to go at 100%.
Alex Volkanovski,
he's at 100%.
right?
The will's on me.
He
the work is behind me. The people are behind me, and you're going to see this.
He was in his own head when he didn't have anything. Now he's fighting against Ilia Topuria very quickly. I wonder aloud if Alex Volkanovski will have any lingering effects from that knockout, because when we see him, we're all like raving he's the best.
Yeah.
Is it just as simple as him just going back down to 45 and he'll be fine again? Because Topuria is a monster, bro.
And that's a fight you don't want to take with your confidence.
Yeah.
And it's also a fight that he could have just waited for. I'm all in favor of making wild fights. And when Dana White was like, it's gonna be Volkanovski versus Makhachev 2, I'm like, oh shit.
like,
take my money.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm like, take my money, let's go. But if I was Alex's friend and we were talking about this, asking about advice,
yeah.
I know you believe you can beat him because you almost beat him in the first fight. However, you had a full camp.
Yes.
How much better are you with a full camp? You're better.
He's way better.
Everyone's better. There's
Way
no
better.
one is better with no camp, right?
No.
Can we agree?
Yes,
No
absolutely.
one. Especially if you're not injured in camp. No one's better with no camp. No one. Doesn't
Nobody.
exist.
Doesn't work.
So it's dependent upon how hard you were training. How hard were you training before you took this fight on 10 days' notice? Were you preparing for potentially fighting 2 months from now and you already ramped up training and you already have like real good cardio and you're already sparring?
Yeah.
Like, or not a good strategy against the best pound for pound
Fight in the world. Yeah.
You want a camp. Like, a rematch was gonna happen anyway.
Yes.
It had to happen. But
Yes.
You don't take that rematch, in my opinion, with 10 days notice. That seems insane.
And the only reason...
Want 10 weeks.
You want 10 weeks. But the only reason anyone thought he had an opportunity was because of how great he is.
Yes.
Right? If he wasn't
Yes.
so great,
Yes.
nobody would have ever thought he had a chance.
Right.
But because of his greatness, I worry that because of his greatness, we're going to believe that what if it's too soon? Like,
and listen, even if he wasn't compromised, even if he didn't fight Islam, Topuria is a nightmare.
Yes, he is.
He's a nightmare.
Yeah.
He's scary. What he did to Josh Emmett, I was like,
nasty.
Oh, man.
He's nasty.
What he did to Bryce Mitchell, like, oh, man.
He's so good, he's so skilled, and he's got great boxing, got great takedown defense.
Everywhere.
I got knocked out by Jones in Anaheim, and I got called for a fight in late September. And I said, no, I need time. I need to let my brain heal. He got knocked out in October. He's going to fight in February.
Yeah.
It's fast, man. I just...
He got knocked out by a shin.
A shin.
A shin
It's
to the
just,
head.
it's a little bit worrisome for me. And I like Volk. He's the man.
But then again, Izzy knocked Pereira out cold. And
Yep,
then
in November.
3 months later, he's fighting Jan Blachowicz.
Oh, yeah, and fought better.
Yeah.
He got knocked out in April, won in July.
Out cold. I mean, Volkanovski wasn't
sleep.
out cold.
No, he was not out cold.
Yeah, this guy was asleep. And Izzy was above him shooting arrows into his body.
Doing some crazy stuff,
Wild.
right?
And then 3 months later, that dude's fighting Jan Blachowicz.
Hey, yo, 6 months later, he's the world champion.
Crazy.
Alex Ferreira.
I mean, he's had one of the quickest rides, the absolute quickest to 2 titles.
I've never seen anything like that.
Nothing ever been like that.
No, never in my life.
The thing is, man, like if the dude really can just survive under everybody if he gets taken down and then just beats your legs up, like
Beats your
it's
legs
a
up.
real problem.
He beats your legs up and then he forces you to make a mistake and he takes advantage every single time.
Welcome back, fight fans. In the main event of UFC 298, featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski defends his title against the formidable, undefeated challenger Ilia Topuria. This high-stakes fight at the Honda Center in Anaheim promises to showcase a clash of experience versus youth and power versus technique. As always, we're here at Luxurytainment to take a closer look at this main event. Get your popcorn and strap up. Ilia Topuria may be Volkanovski's most dangerous challenger in quite a while. Both men have skill sets in all areas of the fight. Volkanovski with sharp kickboxing, powerful wrestling and ground and pound, and Topuria with his boxing, Greco-Roman wrestling, and jiu-jitsu skills. Alexander Volkanovski has some key advantages. He is by far the more experienced fighter, particularly at the championship level. With a UFC record of 13 wins, 3 losses, Volkanovski overdoubles Topuria's 6 UFC fights. Volkanovski also has a higher striking volume. Topuria often looks to plod and weave his way in with the intent of throwing 100% behind almost every shot. This is the reason that when he does land his combinations clean, they are devastating, but he can't throw full force at a consistently high rate. Volkanovski is very good at touching his opponent, tagging their legs from the outside, sticking his jab and keeping some kind of strike or feint in his opponent's face before he fully commits. What this means is if Topuria does have some difficulty finding Volkanovski during any period of the fight, it is also likely that Volkanovski is racking up some points just by constantly touching him. Volkanovski's style in terms of striking also simply poses more weapons. Topuria may very well have some of the best boxing the UFC has ever seen, but he rarely, if ever, throws a kick higher than to the legs. He will typically box his way with a stiff jab or counter, right over his opponent's jab, before ripping to the body and initiating a combination that ends upstairs. On occasion, he attacks the calf of his opponents to corral them into the side. He wants to catch them with his hands or to freeze them on the fence. That being said, because he is so boxing heavy, he is susceptible to taking low kicks on the lead leg when he is bearing all of his weight forward. Volkanovski is tremendous at setting up long, low kicks with his feints and chining low kicks onto the end of his blitzes. I believe it would be in Volkanovski's best interest to invest in those low kicks and take away Topuria's ability to lean into his jab as early as possible. Topuria also has some key advantages on his side as well. He is the younger fighter, which may not mean much. However, it's notable that Volkanovski recently had 2 of his toughest fights in the UFC, with 2 losses to Islam Makhachev in 2023. While I believe that the camp leading up to their first fight only elevated Volkanovski's game to unseen levels, the fact remains he is now coming off of a knockout loss just 3.5 months ago. No one can know the condition of Volkanovski's chin due to this, but Topuria, as a tremendous power puncher, can take some confidence, knowing if he touches Volkanovski, he could be compromised. Although Topuria may have some trouble with Volkanovski's leg kicks, he generally does have a higher striking defense. Knowing that this is a clear game plan for Volkanovski, expect Topuria to have prepared for the kicks in camp, but also watch his masterful boxing defense. Topuria is very good at just barely slipping out of the way so that he can stay grounded and dig counters. He also typically holds a very tight high guard to shell most of his opponent's offense, and will switch on occasion to set up his inside slip counters. A big question mark in this fight is how the grappling exchanges will look. Volkanovski, early in his career, was not known as the striking ace he is today, but instead was viewed as a strong wrestler with outstanding ground and pound. Submissions are not typically a factor on Volkanovski's side, although he has done extensive work with Craig Jones lately, one of the best BJJ black belts around today. It's a real possibility that Volkanovski looks to level change at some point and cause some damage from top position, as mixing all facets of MMA is imperative for the more diverse fighter. However, Topuria, like Volkanovski, was first a grappler before he became famous for his striking. Topuria is a black belt jiu-jitsu fighter with a wide variety of submissions in his early career, from arm triangles to arm bars to front chokes, etc. Whoever establishes a dominant position once it hits the mat may snowball in that exchange. It does seem unlikely that we see Topuria shoot for Volkanovski's legs. His background is in Greco-Roman wrestling, and his wrestling is at its best from the clinch. If Volkanovski shoots and fails to complete it at range, there's always a chance that Topuria defends, finds himself in the clinch, and reverses Volkanovski into his own takedown. Watch for Topuria's outside, inside, and step across trips from over-under or the body lock. This is a very high-level fight in every area that the fight could go. Topuria is coming in with immense confidence and momentum. He shares a lot of qualities with Volkanovski, which the champion has held over most of the other contenders. Both are extremely durable, carry and octagon presence, and are supremely quick. The big if for me is whether or not Topuria can deal with the low kicks of Volkanovski. But if he has solved that problem, I do think he can cause more damage to the head and body of Volkanovski. And I believe he has a distance advantage if the grappling exchanges stay at a high pace. Volkanovski is dangerous if he can settle and land strikes from top position. But the more the two transition, the more Topuria's additional offensive jiu-jitsu skills become a problem. Too many fights throughout the illustrious tenure of the UFC were clamored for by fans and pundits, yet never manifested. Alexander the Great Volkanovski versus Ilia El Matador Topuria is a fight you, me, we, everyone has wanted, and we get both men in their primes. I truly can't wait. Breaking it down as I often do in title fights, since both fighters are at such a high level. Volkanovski is the model of consistency, yet is able to regularly make small adjustments from fight to strategically game plan against his opponents. No matter who he fights, vintage Volkanovski will always implement a thrashing calf kick, feint-heavy boxing, an innate understanding of distance, and reliable volume and cardio. On the other side, Topuria is an extremely offensively talented boxer with lightning-fast hands and thunderous power when he connects. He moves fluidly, fights freely, and also has a complete set of championship-caliber skills. While both Volk and Topuria are elite strikers, each man is also an accredited grappler in the clinch and on the mat. In any area of the fight, both Volk and Topuria have the skills to win at a championship level. Looking more deeply into the matchup, there are a few X factors that I anticipate will dictate the fight. First is octagon control. Volk often likes to nullify the strength of his opponent or use their tendencies against them. When fighting Holloway, the best boxer in the UFC, and someone who weaponizes pressure and cardio, rather than standing toe-to-toe with Max, Volk used his forward pressure against him by feinting to draw out Max's combinations, then cutting an angle and countering off of his feints. However, against the Korean Zombie, another fighter who is at his best fighting in a tire, Volk fought fire with fire and took control of the center of the cage. Topuria is another fighter who is at his best as the hammer and hasn't really had to be the nail. So, I expect Volkanovski to follow his zombie game plan and stubbornly refuse to let Topuria lead the dance. If Volk can win the cage control, he can force Topuria into an unusual position. I expect Volkanovski to accomplish this with his cracking leg kick. Being such a fundamentally sound boxer, Topuria carries his weight on his front leg, making it vulnerable to calf kicks. Meanwhile, I expect Topuria to push a pace early. He might have the edge in speed and early power. It will be close, and if he does, he can use that early edge to build a lead, making Volk fight from behind in the scorecards for the first time in years. Then, in the grappling exchanges, I see Volkanovski as being the better clinch fighter and wrestler, with Topuria being the better grappler and scrambler. I expect the grappling to be even, each man nullifying the other. I expect this fight to come down to Volkanovski's pressure boxing, cardio edge, and experience. Topuria has not fought anyone with Volkanovski's skill set or level. Meanwhile, Volk has fought championship caliber strikers for years. Additionally, Topuria has not been tested in deep waters. Experience is the only reliable marker for a fighter's ability to survive and thrive in the championship rounds. As for Volk's recent knockout loss, I'm not worried about his chin at 145 pounds. He was caught with a head kick from the pound-for-pound number 1 or 2 fighter in the world, up a weight class, and on short notice. Topuria was also almost finished by a head kick up a weight class, just not against even a ranked level fighter. Ultimately, I think anyone picking Topuria a valid selection given his undeniably special skill set is picking based on projection. A Topuria pick is projecting that Volk is over the hill unseen at 145 pounds, and Topuria is a championship-level fighter unproven. Meanwhile, backing Volkanovski is backing the best featherweight of all time in a division in which he's never lost. But while those upsets are recent and notorious, I am confident in backing Volkanovski to do what he's always done throughout his career, slam the door shut on the next up-and-coming contender. I also expect Volkanovski to drag Topuria into deep waters. However, the flip side, given the impressive performances Topuria has shown, he has the aura of a boogeyman, given he has this unknown effect to his game, not in skills, but rather unknown in high-end ability, given he has dismantled all challengers. But these challengers have been outside the top 5 rankings of the division, Josh Emmett being the exception. For many young fighters, the unknown high-end ability is a blemish when handicapping fights that are levels ahead of what they have seen in the octagon. But Topuria is different. That is because he first is elite everywhere, with extremely powerful fast boxing, and also elite wrestling with slick submissions. Second, Topuria has supreme confidence in himself, and this confidence feels authentic, further extenuating the boogeyman feel to his game. So guys, who do you have winning in this exciting fight? Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and have a fabulous day.
Like to see next when you step into the octagon? Everybody.